Hey guys, Katie here. In this podcast I'll be looking at the theory of sound, how sound communicates meaning, and the types of sound used in film and TV. First of all, I must mention what sound is and how it travels through the air. Sound travels through the air and other mediums and can only be heard when it reaches an animal's or person's ear. Sound is basically vibrations. Elements of sound include frequency, amplitude, and wavelength. Frequency is the property of sound that mostly determines the pitch and is the speed of the vibrations. It is measured in the unit that is hertz, and this is the number of wave cycles that occur in 1 second. 1 hertz means 1 wave cycle per second, so the cycles are longer and further apart. Whereas a frequency of 10 Hz, for example, means 10 wave cycles per second, so the cycles are shorter and much closer together. Humans can hear sounds at frequencies from 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz. Although did you know, as humans, we can hear sounds best at between 1000 Hz and 5000 Hz, because this is the example that human speech is measured in. Here are a couple of sounds at different Hz. See if you can figure out which is at the highest volume. If you think the second one is at the highest volume, you are wrong. They both had the volume of minus 10.2 decibels. The reason you think number 2 is higher is because that is the one within our best range of hearing. Number 2 was 2001 Hz to 2051 Hz, whereas the first one was 300 to 350 Hz, which is out of our best range of hearing. Amplitude is the size of the vibrations and determines how loud the sound is. The larger the vibrations, the louder the sound. The word and device amplifier originates from the word amplitude and is used to increase the amplitude of a waveform. It is probably most commonly used when playing an electric guitar. And finally, wavelength in sound is just the distance between two waves. You can work out the wavelength through an equation. In this equation you divide the wave speed by its frequency. Now we will be looking at how sound communicates meaning. Sound can communicate many emotions and meanings, giving the audience an idea on how they are expected to feel whilst listening. For example, in Jaws, when the sharks are preparing to attack, this soundtrack plays, giving the audience a sense of tension. You could also use this as an example of sound being used as an indicator, as in this scene the music helps let the audience know that the sharks are about to attack. Now, soundtracks and effects are used not just in films but in TV too. Soap operas use them at the end of an episode to help indicate to the viewers that this is a cliffhanger and let them know that there is more to come and to keep watching. Arguably, the most iconic soundtrack or sound effect used in this circumstance is the EastEnders theme, commonly known as the Doof Doof. It's such a well-known sound that whenever people hear it, I suspect they get a feeling of wonder, tension, and possibly excitement. If at the end of an episode of EastEnders, for example, there is no Doof Doof, there wouldn't be the same effect. Although it has been done on EastEnders before, but rarely and only when something upsetting has happened, right at the end, like a death, and it's sort of a mark of respect for that character or event. The Doof Doof is now really a trademark for EastEnders, as are many sound effects and soundtracks for other TV shows or films. It just shows that without sound, these part of our lives wouldn't be enjoyable or memorable, as cliché as it sounds. I've talked quite a bit about soundtracks, and now want to move properly over to sound effects. Sound effects are important as they tell you a lot about the story or the characters within the material. In The Dark Knight Rises, there is a fight scene between Batman and Bane. The differences between these two characters are quite clear with the sound effects used. What I mean by this is that without sound, it's hard to know who's the villain, who's the hero, who's the weakest, etc. Dialogue is a classic way of knowing who's who, but other sound effects are also used. The footsteps, for example, you hear when these two characters walk towards each other are different. Bane has more heavier footsteps than Batman, indicating that Bane may be a more stronger character here. Another indicator that Bane is a stronger character is when they start punching and kicking each other. Bane's punches and kicks have more of an impact of Batman than Batman's does to Bane. This can be heard through the deep, forcefulness sound made when the punches and kicks are given. that is all from me. I hope you found this podcast useful in some ways, and goodbye for now.